Coffee giant Starbucks has recently become the focus of labor union organizing. Starbucks Workers United, which is located with the nationwide Service Workers International Union, is trying to organize Starbucks workers. So far, the union has organized over 200 Starbucks stores. Starbucks is vigorously fighting unionization. But, the union is showing signs of success in their efforts. So what does this mean for Starbucks? What does this mean for labor? What does this mean for consumer prices? What does this mean for the US economy? And, what does this mean for the future of the United States? But, before we get into all of that, please press the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Starbucks has over 9,000 stores in the United States and it is doing everything possible to fight unionization. Starbucks has a long history of being something of a forward-thinking company. So, how did Starbucks become so anti-union? As you may know, Starbucks has become the subject of a small but significant organizing campaign by Starbucks Workers United, which is affiliated with the SEIU, or. So far, the Service Employees International Union has organized 210 of Starbucks' 9,000 stores in the United States. Back and forth charges between the union and Starbucks have grown acrimonious. The public has come to know more conservative companies like Hobby Lobby and Walmart as being anti-union. But this is a highly unusual position for Starbucks to be in. CEO Howard Schultz is expected to discuss the matter in depth at Starbucks' upcoming Investor Day. As CEO, Schultz has developed a generous package of benefits for company employees. Starbucks employees earn high wages and have very comprehensive healthcare insurance. Employees also receive stock options and free college tuition. Starbucks employees are generally considered to be a better educated workforce than is typical for service companies in the United States. Starbucks employee turnover rate is 65% versus up to 400% for typical companies in its industry segment. So, Starbucks employees have more skin in the game and are more engaged in the industry and the company. And a group of employees with more at stake is more willing to fight for change as opposed to quitting when things are not quite right. I think it's the case that people expect more from us, a Starbucks was quoted as saying. We have had some footfalls, but I think we are held to a higher standard and we accept that, the employee continued. Gen Z has a different view of the world, said CEO Schultz in an interview. They think that the government has not provided them with a pathway that they believe they deserve, continued Schultz. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world of labor and emboldened employees to want to organize. We started organizing in August of last year, says Casey Moore, a barista in Starbucks Workers United. Starbucks Workers United organized its very first Starbucks store in Buffalo a year ago. There was a group of us kind of coming out of the pandemic, feeling very overworked and underpaid. We were called essential workers, Moore said. But we didn't feel like we actually had the resources or the support from the company that we felt was essential, Moore continued. People love working at Starbucks, says union organizer Chris Chafe. And the company did do a lot of things, to be intentionally inclusive and welcoming to a lot of different kinds of workers in a way that was pretty unique in American culture and society and business, Chafe added. The problem is that Starbucks turned its back on strong practices during that pandemic, Chafe also noted. Starbucks workforce is simply not willing to be mistreated by a company that prior to the last couple of years, had made a different kind of effort to engage with them, Chafe said. And so they're looking for a strong, serious, real voice at the table, to work with the company to make it a better place to work again, Chafe continued. The union highlights Starbucks' illegal, unethical, and anti-union actions like store closings and firing pro-union employees. Starbucks CEO Schultz denies all of that, of course. CEO Schultz claims that there are only a very small number of disgruntled employees. Starbucks thinks that its employees are being whipped up by activist union bosses who are pursuing their own agenda. Starbucks management says that unions are not really as progressive in American society as they say they are. In fact, Starbucks positions itself as the progressive company fighting the non-progressive union. CEO Howard Schultz was actually raised in a poor, working-class neighborhood in Brooklyn. At one point, Schultz's father lost his job because of a broken ankle and he had not medical benefits. I will never forget that episode, said Schultz. I never want that to happen to our employees and that is why thousands of part-time Starbucks workers have full medical benefits, continued Schultz. CEO Schultz makes the point that the union will interfere in what is now a direct connection with company employees. Schultz wrote, "Under my leadership, employees would realize that I would listen to their concerns and they would not need a union." Union organizing is actually not a new thing at Starbucks. It dates back to the 1980s when the United Food and Commercial Workers tried to organize Starbucks employees. But Starbucks was able to push out the unions at that time. The recent organizing activities of the Service Employees International Union seems to be much more successful. This union organizing success compelled Schultz to return for a third stint as CEO in 2022 after retiring twice from the position. Earlier this year, 25 Starbucks stores per week were voting for unionization. There must be discomfort felt by Starbucks board members including board chair and Ariel Investments co-CEO Melody Hobson and Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, according to union sources. Hobson has a long and generally positive relationship with Workers United and its predecessor unions, said union organizer Chafe. Her firm counts the National Retirement Fund, the pension fund for that union, among the very early institutional investors who showed trust and faith in her many years ago, continued the union source. Microsoft will not resist unionization efforts, said Microsoft President Brad Smith said in a company blog post. Microsoft entered into a labor contract with the Communications Workers of America, according to Reuters. The contract allows employees to freely and fairly make a choice about union representation, according to the contract. But Microsoft has far fewer employees to unionize than Starbucks does. What does this mean for Starbucks investors? Starbucks stock has lagged the S&P over the past 5 years. Starbucks is not the only company currently fighting unionization efforts. In April 2022, the Amazon labor union managed to unionize an Amazon warehouse in Staten Island, New York. Last week, the Teamsters announced the creation of a new division of the Teamsters focused specifically on Amazon. Amazon representative declined to immediately when asked to comment. The Teamsters has 1.2 million members. Teamsters Local 1932 represents members in Southern California. Amazon's most consequential logistics hub in North America is located in San Bernardino. The Teamsters Union represents 340,000 UPS employees. Most of the UPS employees are for the same roles as Amazon workers. As the labor shortage in the U.S. rages on, workers around the country are rising up and demanding better working terms and conditions. Some U.S. cities are increasingly rejecting Amazon's lack of accountability. Amazon also has a high employee injury rate. Unions in some cities see the growth of Amazon as threatening good-paying jobs and environmental protections. 1/3 of warehouse workers in the United States are employed by Amazon. But half of all warehouse worker injuries are sustained at an Amazon workplace. Amazon injury rates are nearly 80% higher than the warehousing industry average. But, if Amazon workers unionize, what will happen to consumer prices? Amazon might respond by relying more on automation at its warehouses. This could have unintended consequences, such as the elimination of thousands of jobs. But full automation is rarely possible. Even if the number of jobs is reduced, many jobs will remain because they cannot be automated. Whatever the case, the United States is on the cusp of a rise in labor power. Other labor-intensive companies, such as Starbucks, have become targets of labor unions. Even Apple has been rumored to be the focus of union organizers. But, what do you think? Please press the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Please share this video on social media. Thank you for watching.